I'll just perhaps say a few remarks and then take some questions from you. As you know, I just briefed the Council on the latest report of the Secretary-General on Resolution 1701. In fact, it was the 9th report since the adoption of that resolution in August 2006. Now, as the report indicates, the past months have witnessed the most serious violations by both parties of their obligations under 1701 since it was adopted. But despite these violations, the cessation of hostilities continues to hold, and I'd like to pay tribute in this regard to my colleagues in UNIFIL, but also to the remarkable work of the Lebanese armed forces in this regard. Now, as I told the Council today, 1701 provides a broad framework and imposes specific obligations on the parties to ensure the maintenance of the current cessation of hostilities between Lebanon and Israel, and to move the parties towards a permanent ceasefire and a long-term solution. We have taken stock today of how far we've come and how much further we have to go. On the positive side, the resolution has continued to ensure a cessation of hostilities between the parties and the longest period of stability that South Lebanon has known in decades. There is a stability on Israel's northern border which it has not known since the 1980s. There have been other positive developments, and in particular I think the internal political situation in Lebanon in the run-up now to general elections, which will be held on June the 7th, remains good. The long-standing issue of prisoners and captives held by Hizbollah and Israel was, as you know, resolved last year. Lebanon and Syria have established diplomatic relations, and you'll all be aware of the moves towards reconciliation in the wider Arab world, which I think have an enormously positive effect on the situation on the ground in Lebanon. However, there are also many other issues within 1701 where very little progress has been achieved. Processes have been put in place in some respects, but have not yet delivered on the results. For example, we follow closely the work of the National Dialogue in Lebanon, which under the aegis of President Sleiman, which has had an enormously beneficial effect on the country in enhancing national stability, but where the question of the disarmament of armed groups is making only slow process. With regard to border control and border management, there has indeed been some improvement with the establishment of diplomatic relations between Lebanon and Syria, and much closer coordination between the relevant authorities of both countries, and in particular their militaries and security forces. You'll know that there have been visits by Elias Moore, the defense minister of Lebanon, to Damascus, most recently and earlier by the Interior Minister Ziad Baroud. All of this is tremendously helpful. However, we're sorry that the Joint Border Committee established between the two countries, Lebanon has appointed its representatives, but Syria has not so far done so. Despite the establishment of diplomatic relations, which is very important, while Lebanon has appointed an ambassador to Damascus, Michel Khoury, and while the embassies are now functioning in both capitals, Syria is yet to appoint an ambassador, and that appointment, I'm sure, would be again enormously beneficial to stability in Lebanon. There are two other issues that we reported on and which were commented on in the deliberations and the consultations that the Council just had, namely the village of Khajar, and in particular the northern part of that village. As you know, this is currently under occupation by the Israeli Defense Forces, although much earlier, between the year 2000 and 2006, in fact, the IDF had withdrawn. It was reoccupied during the war of 2006. I'm pleased to say that we had a very good meeting with the Israeli authorities on February the 8th in Jerusalem. I led a UN delegation which included General Graziano, and since then there have been further technical talks with the Israeli authorities, which I think have been conducted in a very serious and rigorous manner. I hope that with the formation of a new Israeli government following the elections of February the 10th, that we could make very quick progress in this regard, leading to an IDF withdrawal from the northern part of the village. The Israeli authorities, I think, have been reassured by the guarantees that General Graziano has been able to give that he would deploy civil police, Guardia Civil from Spain and Carabinieri from Italy in the village once the IDF withdraws. We've also had detailed discussions again with the Israelis on the question of the cluster bombs and cluster munitions that were dropped by the Israeli Air Force during the 2006 conflict, and in particular in the last several days of that conflict. I very much hope that on this issue too, with the formation of a new government in Israel, we could see progress. On Sheba Farms, an important element again in 1701, I regret to say that we've made very, very little progress during the last period. Israel, the occupying power, has not substantively engaged on this issue, and requests by the Secretary General for engagement by Syria on this issue have not been met with positive response.